All right, everyone. So we're going to talk about ivermectin. We're going to talk about ivermectin in the context of COVID and some recent discoveries. If you're wondering if ivermectin works for COVID, the short answer is no, in the absence of parasites. And we're going to go over why that is. So it's not just fraud. So, we were aware of the fraud, but it's actually worse than that. Even the non-fraudulent trials have study designs that effectively kill people in the control group, artificially making the ivermectin group look good for treating COVID. And we'll go through why that is. So there is a condition known as strongyloides, strongyloidiasis. It's a parasite. It's a threadworm that is common in various endemic regions where ivermectin trials are performed. So, ivermectin is a treatment for strongyloides. If you have strongyloides, that parasite, ivermectin treats it. It does a good job at treating it, cures it. Ivermectin cures parasites. It's a good treatment for that. Why does this matter for COVID? So, the standard of care for COVID widespread is one of the standard of care therapies is corticosteroids. Usually, like that could be whether it's dexamethasone or not dexamethasone. That's steroids are widespread used for COVID in especially in more severe cases. Now, if you give corticosteroid to a patient who has this specific infection, this specific parasite, the parasite essentially goes crazy and kills the patient. So what's happening is the patient's immune system is basically keeping the parasite at bay. There's several different mechanisms. There's IgE, there's mast cells, there's major basic protein. It's all working together to keep the Strongyloides parasite confined to where it is and not going everywhere. When you give the patient corticosteroids, the Strongyloides parasite isn't met with those defenses anymore. The immune system tapers down. You don't have the eosinophils as much. You don't have the major basic protein, the mast cells, etc. The IgE and whatnot, all working together to keep the Strongyloides parasite at bay and confined to where it is. And so it moves around. It goes crazy. It gets into the lungs. It gets into it can even get you can get a meningitis, and as it goes through the body, it also spreads gram-negative bacteria through its tracks because it's a parasite, and the gram-negative bacteria actually get in the blood. So what happens is if you can imagine how you have a patient who has COVID that you're giving the standard of care for, you're giving corticosteroids for. But because there was a strongyloides infection that you didn't know about, what happens is the strongyloides infection ends up killing the patient. And furthermore, the three most common symptoms of a strongyloides hyperinfection are gastrointestinal symptoms, respiratory symptoms, and fever. And these are three very common symptoms for a COVID death. And so it's very easy to confuse a patient that's dying from strongyloides hyperinfection or disseminated strongyloidiasis from a COVID death. Now, why isn't this happening in the treatment group? Well, the treatment group is ivermectin. So everyone in the treatment group is getting the treatment for strongyloides. And so when they get corticosteroids, they're not going to get disseminated strongyloidiasis. They're not going to get this hyperinfection that's going to kill them because they've already killed off the parasite. But everyone in the control group that has strongyloides, they're not getting ivermectin. They're not getting ivermectin because they're in the control group, and it's a control group for ivermectin. And there's no mention of any other anti-helminthic anti-parasitic agent like albendazole or thiabendazole in these trials. And so what's happening is you're setting up a control group, especially in areas that are endemic with strongyloidiasis, where the control group just kills people. Kill the control group, and the treatment group artificially looks good. It's standard to take patients who you suspect may have a parasitic infection before you give steroids, or recommend it at the least, to empirically treat with ivermectin. You don't want to test for it even with standard stool open parasites. If you do that, the test, I mean, you could do it, but the trials didn't really do it, by the way, I'll add. But the sensitivity is not even enough to rule it out. You just treat empirically. You just give everyone you suspect to have this infection ivermectin before you give steroids. So the third world country trials are going to make ivermectin look really good because it's treating strongyloides, avoiding the superinfection. But the point is that in first world countries, naive people are going to look at this, completely missing the point and saying, "Oh, look how great ivermectin works for COVID." But they don't have any of these parasites. Ivermectin's not going to work for them. The results don't extrapolate. Are you with me so far, Isaac?
Well, I can try to repeat some of that back to you because that's a lot of
Sure.
information. Maybe I'll try to get to the core point. I'll probably get it wrong, but you can kind of correct me. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, basically, you want to say that ivermectin actually works for the thing it's supposed to work for, which is like getting rid of parasites.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you test on a population that like has these parasites and the control group is given ivermectin, but the experimental group is given ivermectin, the control group isn't, then the control group is just going to get like basically just yeeted by these parasites, and the experimental group is going to do better because they're getting the treatment for the parasites. But there's not a reason to believe that this actually is like to do with COVID. So it's something kind of like that.
Yeah, but there's one additional key, which is one of the treatments for COVID is steroids, corticosteroids.
Mm-hmm.
And
So yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, when you give someone with these parasite steroids, this parasites go crazy because there's no immune system preventing them from going crazy.
When you give someone with the parasites, so both groups in this case would have parasites, and
Mm-hmm.
then so what are they given? Are they given some standard COVID treatment in addition to the
That's
ivermectin?
the key. The key is that it's widespread that corticosteroids are part of standard treatment.
So both groups are given corticosteroids.
Both groups would be given corticosteroids. Yeah.
Okay, both groups have parasites. Both groups are given corticosteroids, but one of the groups isn't given ivermectin. So the group
Yes.
that is just given corticosteroids and has parasites is just gonna have the parasites like go crazy and just kill them basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
wait, so like I shouldn't laugh because that's horrible, but like isn't there like a pretty fucking insane like medical ethics issue here?
Yeah. Yeah. There is. Um. The it's take the reason is because taking people who have strongyloides and putting them into a control group where the standard of care involves steroids without giving them ivermectin or without giving them another anti-parasitic like
Mm-hmm.
albendazole at the least, if not thiabendazole. Doing that is a death sentence. You're sentencing your patient to death if they have strongyloides and you're giving them steroids. If they get disseminated strongyloidiasis, if they get that super infection, the mortality rate is around 80%. And it doesn't take a long time of giving them steroids for it to happen either. It doesn't take like years of steroids. It can happen in as little as 5 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, it can happen in as little as 5 days. On the order of days to weeks.
So the people running these trials might be like in for some lawsuits if this actually becomes kind of like widely known, right? Like surely people
I
are
don't know
going to
what
take
the
take
I don't know what the
well,
legal system would
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
you can only predict, but it's
Yeah.
like it sounds like there's like very likely like a legal problem there. I don't know, maybe someone who knows about law will comment. But yeah, so basically the idea is okay, and then there's one other thing which is you say these areas are like endemic with strongyloides. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Strongyloides? Yeah. So
Strongyloidiasis.
is the
Yeah.
idea just like you know because it's endemic that just means that some large amount of the population is like bound to have these parasites? Like how exactly is that
Yeah. I mean
um
that's the idea. So they're endemic to it. So that's it's you that it's a very high probability that a number of individuals in both control and treatment groups are going to have it. And remember, the mortality results for ivermectin are driven by a small number of differences in death rates. So it's not like it's just a small number of events. What I
um
did was, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, yeah, I guess because I can see the picture that you're painting, right? It's like, okay, so there's these areas of the world where these trials have happened. In these areas of the world, these parasites are endemic. So you get a control group, you get an experimental group. Both groups have the parasites. Both groups are given steroids. One group is given ivermectin. So the control group, which just has parasites and is given steroids, you're just killing those people basically. And then the ivermectin group, by comparison, is going to look good. There's no reason to think that's in virtue of ivermectin treating COVID. It's like could very well just be in virtue of the ivermectin treating the parasites that would otherwise get like driven crazy by the steroids and just like kill you.
Yeah, that's
So,
exactly right. Yeah.
but yeah, so I understand that picture, but that currently it's kind of like, I mean, it's like a mechanism or something. So I
Yeah.
assume that yeah, then you have some like
Yeah,
kind of
we have
empirical
some
data
data to
because what like I'll
yeah.
let you go into the data obviously, but because like the kind of thing that comes to mind to me is like just questions like what percentage of the population has the parasites, what percentage of people who have the parasites will die within some given time frame if given steroids, like just these kind of questions, and just with the ultimate kind of question in mind of like when you factor in all those things like the percentage of people who have the parasites, the percentage of people given the steroid, all that kind of shit, does it end up basically confirming your picture that it's because of the steroids that you're seeing this difference in the ivermectin group?
Based on what I've seen so far, yes. Now, what I've seen so far is not perfect data because the ivermectin data is not perfect data. So, I mean, it's all going to be shaky. But what I did was I stratified the ivermectin trials by strongyloides prevalence. Posted that in general chat.
Okay, do you want any of the, I know you put some of this shit on Twitter, like do you want me to have the web page open to look at that or anything, or is it fine to just look at
I mean,
whatever
it's
you're
just fine.
posting?
Either, yeah, what I post in general is fine. It's the same thing.
All right, I've got that open. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what we have here are we have the ivermectin trials, and we have we have them stratified by prevalent. So we have prevalence of strongyloides. So we have the low strongyloides prevalent trials, which took place in areas that have a 2.5 to 7.5% prevalence of this parasite. Then we have the medium, which was 7.5 to 12.5. And then we have 12.5 and up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you'll see the result of the low strongyloides prevalence. It's not statistically significant. So ivermectin didn't have a statistically significant results for COVID deaths, and the point estimate is 0.81. Confidence interval is
Okay,
0.42,
give me a
1.5.
second to understand what I'm looking at here. I know what a tree plot is. I know how to tell if it's significant. Basically, we're looking for does the diamond cross over the line,
Mm-hmm.
but I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So
Yeah, this is the deaths. These are the randomized controlled trials of ivermectin for mortality, for all cause mortality, and You have the events and the total, and then you have each event is a death,
Okay.
and so and
Let me
then if
just try to read
yeah.
through what I'm looking at here and make sure, and you tell me if I'm understanding it correctly. Okay, I'm just gonna go bit by bit. Um, okay, right. So you have the study or subgroup. So yeah, okay. Study or subgroup. So yeah, the studies are things like Gonzalez, Hashim, whatever. And what does it mean when it says study or subgroup? Why is it not just study?
So the subgroup are the I stratified the studies into subgroups, which which is different prevalence. So like you'll notice how 1.11 is there, low strongyloides prevalence.
Mm-hmm.
That's a subgroup, not a study.
Oh, so the
It's a
subgroups are
subgroup.
strong are low, medium, and high, and then the studies are inside of these subgroups.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense, right? Okay, so then we have ivermectin and control, and under both of those we have events and total. Are events death there?
Yes. Events are
Okay,
death.
so yeah, and I'm okay. So three death, and then what's the total mean there? What's total?
Total is the number of individuals.
Oh, okay. Total amount of people, and then how many of
Yeah.
them died, right? Not total isn't like after death. Total is like at the
Yeah.
start. Start with
That's
82.
right.
Yeah, okay. All right, and then weight. What is weight here? Oh,
Oh,
weight in the
in the
meta-analysis.
meta-analytic summation sense, yeah.
Right. And what's the weight based off? Just like how many people are in there or
It's based on the standard. So that's part of it. Yeah, you'll want like a high end for the totals and the events also. You'll notice the ones that have both higher numbers of total and events, not just one of each. Will all have it. It'll come down to like some
Oh,
metric
okay.
variance that it's
So
part of the formula
so yeah,
that'll
so
get it.
there's weight is okay, I thought it might be something straightforward, but the point is there's some standard statistical procedure that's used to calculate the weight basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then risk ratio, M to H, that's what, medium to high?
Mantle Hansel. It's
Mental.
the formula generating the
Oh, okay.
it's,
All right.
it's,
Far off there.
yeah.
Random, so that's some other property of how the ratio was calculated? Like random of
Random
fixed
effect. It means
effects?
just means
Yeah.
it just means a random effects meta analysis as opposed to a fixed effects meta analysis.
Right. And then 95% confidence interval. Right. And then so the risk ratio, so 0.75, and then the confidence interval, 95% confidence interval is between 0.01 and 3.25. So let me just understand this right here. This risk ratio, what exactly does a risk ratio represent?
It's the it's the proportion of individuals who died in one group divided by the proportion of individuals died in the other group. So basically, like the rate of death in one group divided by the rate of death in the other group.
Right. So over one is you have more dying
Yeah.
in the group. Yeah, okay. And then under, right, okay. So this is right, okay. So we have all these different groups in the low strongyloides prevalence subgroup. We have all these different studies. They all have different risk ratios. And then you have this subtotal, which is the meta-analytic summation, basically. Okay, and there's just one thing I'm tripping out for a second at here. So we have the risk ratio and then the confidence interval between 0.17 and 3.25. So we have 95% confidence that the true value lies between those 2 points.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, technically, it's there's a more technical way of saying that, which is like if you ran the. But I mean, that's fine. That's
If
fine
you
for the
ran it 100
purpose of the
times,
experience. Yeah,
95 of them would be in that
yeah,
range.
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
The true estimate would be in that range. Yeah,
Okay.
95 of them would include the true value, really. But yeah,
And I'm just trying to understand what. Oh, and those numbers are themselves risk ratios.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, right. So the 95% confidence interval is between those two, and then the actual point estimate is 0.75, basically.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Sorry, it's been a while since I've fucking looked at stats. We never did like risk ratio or anything. But yeah, okay. So I have a rough sense of what that is. So then, Okay, and then I'm just looking at the forest plot over here. So basically, for each of these lines, I guess this will be useful for all the people who don't know how to read forest plots, just going kind of from ground up here. So, forgive me, but some people will benefit, I guess. So any one of these lines, the horizontal bar is the confidence interval, right? And then the blue, well, let's start with that. The horizontal bar is the confidence interval. You
Yes.
cut out, but I think you said yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
So right. So the low end of. So I'm looking at the very first one here. The low end there. Maybe I should have my pointer turned on. I guess I can screen share for you, but the people watching can kind of see it already. Screens, applications, Discord. Okay. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen there, Avi?
Let me see. Watch stream. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So from here to here, that's the confidence interval. So 0.17 is right here and 3.25 is right here. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So then this is 0.75, this blue box, that's the point estimate, right?
Yeah. That's 0.75.
Okay, and then there's also the size of the box. I forget what that represents. Is that the weight?
The weight.
Right. Okay, so that's
There's a bit
what.
of an echo coming through you. The headphones.
Oh, you have to mute me. So you want to mute my stream. It's because you're hearing me
Oh, I
through my
see.
stream and through the Discord chat. I don't know how to mute that on my end. If someone wants to tell me, I can do it too. Just pipe up if you know how to do that. Um, okay, but you can mute it just by clicking my screen share and right
Yeah,
click and
yeah,
hit
yeah. Your
mute.
stream's muted now.
Okay, cool. Right. Okay, so now I've refreshed myself on tree plots. So okay, so basically here's this big subgroup here. This is the low strongyloides. Here are the studies in that subgroup. They each have an ivermectin and a control group that has events. That's the amount. That's how many deaths, and then total number of people. Then there's a weight per each study, and then we have a point estimate for the risk ratio, and that's inside a 95% confidence interval. Then looking at the tree plot, for every one of these studies, you have a horizontal bar representing the confidence interval, and then you have a blue box representing the point estimate, which is like this 0.75, for instance, here. And the size of the blue box represents the weight. Okay, and then finally, you aggregate these all together and you get the diamond. And then you know if the meta-analytic summation is statistically significant by seeing if the diamond crosses that vertical bar, right?
Yeah. If
Okay.
it's not crossed to the vertical, it won't be statistically significant.
Okay, so we've done the tree plot refresher, which probably benefited me, but hopefully someone else. Okay, so I understand what I'm looking at here now. So maybe you want to continue?
Yeah. So you'll notice that I did 3 subgroups based on a
Mm-hmm.
low prevalence, a medium prevalence, and a high prevalence.
Right.
And what I would expect, if my hypothesis is correct, that what's driving these results are um, this mechanism that I just speculated, is that if I were to stratify them, what you would see is that you would start seeing a higher and higher effect size favoring ivermectin, the higher the strongyloides prevalence is.
Right.
And by effect size, I just mean the deaths in the if the deaths in the control relative to the treatment. I don't mean total deaths in the control because not all of these trials are equal. Some have patients that you'll have high baseline mortality in the control group as baseline, but the treatment group will also have a high mortality, like severe COVID trials.
Right.
But the relative difference would be affected by the strongyloides prevalence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see that obviously, right? So like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the actual point estimate for the diamond is getting higher as you go from low to high. I guess that the confidence interval on the diamond stretches further past the line in the second case, but the actual point estimate, the center of the diamond, is still further. But yeah, the important thing is obviously just not significant with low and medium, though looking more so with medium, closer to significant. And then with high strongyloides, you actually see statistical significance at the level of the meta-analytic summation.
Yeah, not closer to significant with medium. I'll just quickly cut because there's more uncertainty.
No,
There's
when I
actually
said
a, yeah,
closer, I just meant that the the actual point
Yeah, there's a
estimate.
more
Yeah.
favorable point estimate. Yeah.
Right, but of course the confidence interval actually
Yeah.
stretches even further than with the medium.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the high being significant is interesting though.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
now, like, look, this is all preliminary because this is, we don't have a whole lot of events to work with. Um, I mean, the ivermectin data itself is preliminary, but it looks like there may be something here to bear out this mechanism. And so there's still more work to be done. One thing to do is to do a meta regression. That will get our stats friends out to help us. Uh, that will be fun. And this, if this is true, and even if it doesn't pan out, but look, if this is true and if it pans out, um, these trials are just killing people, and it tells you nothing about ivermectin working for COVID without parasites, and it's just killing the control group and it makes ivermectin look good. It's insane, really bad. So, and if it doesn't pan out, then it's still a big problem with all of the trials because they have to know that they have to have a way of knowing that this isn't something that you're doing just that's just going to be some effect modifier here. That's not going to extrapolate to patients without parasites like strongyloides.
Right. So minimally, this is a confounder that has to be dealt with before you make any claims based on these studies. But
Yeah.
maximally, it's like a huge ethics issue, and some people might like go to jail or something.
Maximally, yeah. Maximally, it's like negligent homicide. It's like it's just an insane design that is taking people who are infected with parasites and sending them to their death.
Right. I think it's good to lay out the kind of strong and weak case because it's like you're saying at least this is the problem, that this is like a serious confounder that you
Yeah.
have to rule out if you're going to be like an ivermectin ideologue, like making claims on the basis of these studies. So minimally, you got to deal with that confounder. But yeah, on the strong side, it's like this is like
Yeah.
actually like deeply evil, and you don't want to say anything about the law, but like possibly like illegal or something.
Yeah, I'm aware of at least, and so I'm aware of at least one of those trials on that list that gave every single patient in the trial steroids, each and every one.
Um, everyone. Oh, you so well. Yeah, they're all given, but yeah, that's what you said at the start. They're all
Yeah,
given
but they're not all
steroids.
given. Well, yeah, it's part of, but they're not necessarily all get each individual patient within the trial. Some trials gave like half of the control group steroids, depending on their symptoms.
Oh,
Some
okay.
trials, like the details are very, but like at least one of those trials just straight up gave every single patient steroids.
Oh man.
Yeah, every single patient in the treatment and control, every single patient in the control group got steroids.
Yeah, so that's fucked. Okay, so I think we probably have what we need here. Is there anything else you want to say? Do you want? I don't know if anyone has
Yeah,
questions. I
I'll say a few.
assume.
I'll say a few things just
Yeah.
because I know people are going to review this and try to critique it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so if I have a link to my Twitter for the methodology, I have it linked. I'll link in the description where I got all the prevalences from. Um, Elgazar is obviously excluded because it's under scrutiny for fraud. Okumis and Nia are excluded because they're under scrutiny for improper randomization protocols. So if you're questioning why those studies are not there, they're not there for those reasons. If there is further events exonerating those studies, I'll put them back in the forest plot and do the same analysis. What else? Some other point might be made. I actually already addressed it about the absolute control death and mortality rate. Again, what matters is the relative difference between the control group and the treatment group because not all the trials are the same. Some have higher mortality rates at baseline just because they're a severe COVID trial versus not severe COVID trial. So that wouldn't be a good critique. What other things can we just head off at the pass? I think that's it. Um, and then well, if wide confidence intervals, yeah, it's preliminary data. ivermectin data in general is going to be preliminary. But yeah, but based on what we have so far, it seems consistent with that hypothesis.
Okay. All right. So, if anyone has questions, you can ask now, but you got to just unmute and ask instantly because we're not gonna sit around really. Okay. I don't think anyone wants to ask anything. All right. Thanks, Avi. That's pretty ridiculous, and I'll send you the video.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Peace.